All right. Looks like we are good to go. I'm going to go ahead and help you guys out when it comes to learning how to. Let me make sure that this is actually going. Yeah, it is. Okay. When it comes to learning how to build pretty good teams for Super Battle Road and how to go about, just playing the mode really, because it's a little bit different. And thank you everybody that's tuning in that it's not something that you can just kind of jump into and expect to just defeat, right? You have to play a little bit differently. There are niches to it. And if you're not familiar with it, we're going to go over it really quick. So this is the mode, and this is coming out on global over the course like the next few days. So be aware of that. Also, some of what I'm going to point out here may or may not change because, of course, units aren't available yet right now on global. They will become available, so on and so forth. So when it comes down to it, uh, Super Battle Road has 10 stages. Extreme AGL, Super AGL, Extreme Tech, Super Tech, so on and so forth through every single color, 10 total stages. Each round, you have to fight through 4 fights. Each fight that you face can be a minimum of 2 opponents or 5 opponents. So like stuff like the Ginyu Force, or like Goku and Vegeta, or I don't know if Goku and Vegeta is an actual combination, but you get my point. Goku, Gohan, and Goten can be a possible combination. Vegeta and Trunks, stuff like that. So you have to go ahead and go through this. And then the rewards are these right here and the Gohan LR card. Gohan is a really, really good LR leader, one of the best in the game, if not the second best LR leader in the game. Thank you for the subscription, by the way. So you get these trophy things, trophy medals or whatever. Those can be used to exchange for the Grand Kais, which are type restricted Elder Kais. Also, you can get 5 stones apparently per stage that you clear. Excuse me. And here's how to get the Gohan cards. They give you 5 in total. And thanks, guys, for all the subscriptions over there. I'm not really looking too much at that. Happy Sunday. Sup, big dog. Thanks for the $5 super chat, bro. And the dono. So, yeah, we're going to go ahead and go through some team options. Now, I'm going to start off with AGL. If I knock all these off, we're going to start off with Super AGL. So, here's the thing. You're going to want a good leader, right? And what are the best leaders for Super AGL right now? If I go ahead and sort them by attack, best leaders will be him and him. So, of course, if you have a SS4 Vegeta, you're set. You're especially set if you own both of these, by the way. But if you don't, at the very least, you can lead with, I don't have, off the top of my head, I don't know every unit off the top of my head, but lead with a solid AGL leader, and then on top of that, such as like Super Vegito, and then take an SS4 Vegeta friend. There will be a special friend that can be allotted to you if your friends list isn't showing these options. Like maybe they don't have an SS4 Vegeta in your friends list. There will be a special one that's listed there at SA10, but no orb investment, which kind of sucks. But yeah, because naturally high defense, like that friend Vegeta, by the way, that you take, the special guest, he will get hit really hard. He's going to get a high defensive stat because his passive and stuff, but he's still going to get hit really hard because he really needs the orb investment. So, like I said, you're going to want to take a leader, and this is up to you and what you have. I can't really go through that. I'll look at the chat in a minute, guys. So, of course, Super Vegito is incredible because of the fact that he mitigates damage. Damage received from normal attacks minus 80%. So, that is probably about 10 times better, especially in Super Battle Road where they hit incredibly hard. That's about 10 times better than Vegeta getting 120 plus defense, right? Not to say Vegeta can't take a hit, because he can, but the ability to mitigate damage is a lot better, albeit this doesn't mitigate super attacks, which there are some units that can do that, but still, you're better off with that, especially because Super Vegito has the option to counter as well on those normal hits. Now, how do you want to fill out the team? So, when it comes to Super Battle Road, it adds a lot of relevance to a lot of units that are not really units that you would think about using too often, right? If I look at a unit like AGL Whis, I actually use AGL Whis for my completed Super Battle Road AGL run on JP. So what he does, the passives are right here. It's going to keep changing while I hover over cards, but recover all HP only once when HP is 30% or below. So that is really, really good. It's a free Senzu Bean whenever your HP drops 1 time, and it'll happen 4 times throughout the entirety of the event, assuming that you make it all the way through the event, and of course get the option to drop that low, and then of course Whis pops up. He has to be on rotation at that time. If you heal and whatever, it's not going to work anymore. So yeah, aside from that, he's a really, really good option. I believe he might have a stun on his super attack. Extreme damage, yeah, may stun, which can come in clutch. Stunning can come in clutch. Now, wild card options that you can include in the team, which I did, would be somebody like Caulifla. If you have Caulifla, you're set, but she's a wild card option. And the reason I say this is because she has the ability to dodge. She also has the ability to counter. So she is a really, really good defensive unit if she's doing those things. She's not so good if she isn't doing those things. The units that you typically want to stay away from, right, would be units like Broadpan or Bullpan, as they call her over here, because she's not doing anything for you. She's giving you key support. Don't need that. Another type of unit you really want to stay away from, a unit like Gohan. He gets a nice attack boost, but you don't need that. You need to make sure your team is well-rounded. There are other, again, I'm not going to be able to go over every single unit in the game, like a unit like AGLTN. Medium chance of stunning all enemies via his passive. That's actually really good. You know, he doesn't link with anybody, but that's really, really good, you know? So just be aware of that. So when it comes down to this, I'm going to show you guys my team actually that I ran in order to defeat it most recent time that I did. So I ran these 4 units alongside, I believe, these 2. So Vegeta, really, really good unit, post super attacking. He gets a lot more defense. Of course, mine are Rainbow Stars, so that's why these 2 are here. Otherwise, I wouldn't run them. I'd run more naturally good defensive units, and you'd be good from there. So that's just what I wanted to point out when it comes in terms of the AGL team in particular. Of course, Global will have other options, such as that Vegeta that recently came out that's free to play. He has the ability to counter. I don't think he's super good because he has really, really low stats. He's going to get hit really freaking hard, but he can be a solid option alongside items like Icarus or the GT Chi-Chi item, you know, those type of attack reducing or damage reducing items, you know, coupled with a solid defensive boost also is going to be another really important factor. So that's just super AGL. Let me check out the chat really quick. Drop Kaioken Blue no matter what. I used him and I won with him, so it doesn't really matter. That 5%, it hurts, but it's not the biggest of deals. So yeah, that's AGL, super AGL. Where's the clear button? Hello? All right, whatever. I'll just click them out. Okay, so if we swap over to Extreme Tech, this is one that I actually haven't beaten yet because this team doesn't have anywhere near as many good options. And if you look at it, you can look at the top brass and say, oh, look at all these good cards, right? And that top row looks really, really good, in fact, right? So if I say, here's my leader, of course, if you don't have him as a leader, maybe you have him as a leader. If you don't have him as a leader, then I guess maybe you have to run Rose. But just understand that the worse your leader is, the harder it's going to be because you're getting less of a percentage increase. So you have less HP to, you know, use as a window as far as like margin goes for error. So, of course, optimally, you'd want all 3 of these guys. The stun for Majin Vegeta, double Majin Vegeta, for example, as a friend will be very, very valuable. Even if you don't have him, by the way, as a friend, still taking a Majin Vegeta will be very valuable. Unless you plan to play defensively with Super 17, because he is actually, with Orb invested, one of the better units that you can take to Super Battle Road because he has the ability to mitigate damage from normal and super attacks, like I talked about with Super Vegito earlier. He has a 1-up on Super Vegito because of that. Also, the 40% support units are wild cards because they're really, really good, but they themselves will get hit ridiculously hard. So you kind of pick your poison with that because you want to see if they are adding enough defense to your main rotation guys to where it doesn't matter. It kind of makes up for it. Also, I use this guy, again, another unit that can mitigate a lot of damage. I believe he mitigates 90% 150 or above. Yeah, so overall, awesome options for this team. And I'm just going to kind of move on because I know a lot of people are going to be more interested anyway in some of the super teams. But if you understand, there's a theme to this, right? Don't overlook units. Holy crap, can you stop tripping out? Don't overlook units that you think are crap or like you haven't used in forever or whatever, because they will be viable, okay? So now that we're here, let's look at the super options for Tech. Thank you for the subscriptions. What's the best team without LRs between Super Tech or Int to be? I'm not even there yet, bro. I'm not even there. So Super Tech. So again, leader. When it comes to Super Tech, you have the opportunity to do 2 things. You can run the 120 lead, or 3 things, I guess. You can run the 120 lead or like an equivalent leader, maybe 70% Go Tanks at your Tech, all types leader, whatever. Hercule, you know, whatever. Or you can run the category lead. If you run the category lead, of course, that means that the category-centric units, like Go Tanks, like Gogeta, would be a lot better because they have the option to have more HP and attack and all that other good stuff. Gogeta can basically carry through Super Battle Road if you have a good enough Gogeta and a good enough friend. they can carry if they're double leads. Personally, what I did was I went Gogeta or Goku lead, and I of course put Gogeta on the team, and I took a Gogeta friend. Now, this was actually one of my more proud victories for me, because when it came to this team, I actually used a few units that you would never really consider, right? Because Jocko was freaking paramount. Look at that passive, May stun all enemies. Don't get confused by the May. This is a guarantee. The second you see Jocko, he will guarantee stun. Now, some people may disagree. Oh, man, don't do that because, you know, he's going to get hit hard. He's not going to hit hard himself. Screw that. Jocko coming in and stunning all 5 enemies, for example, essentially giving you a free turn, is priceless. That is incredibly clutch. You definitely want something like that. So even if you don't use him, at least consider using him. Now, another unit that I actually did on my completed run, yes, there are videos of this stuff if you guys want to watch it, I use these units, was the tech free-to-play Bulma. She's another unit that, and I always forget, right? She's a healer. She heals for 777 HP per rainbow orb obtained. Also, great chance to reduce damage by 50%. That affects super attacks as well. So again, she fits great. And you see here, you have a nice defensive backbone between those two units. And also, we have another unit like Whis, right? Another unit like Whis is this Gohan. Don't sleep on this Gohan because of the fact that, again, so attack plus 200% and fully recovers HP when HP is 30% or below, one time only. Just like the AGL Whis, he does the exact same thing, except he actually gets an attack boost. He's like literally that guy on steroids. So again, I used all 3 of these units on my completed run, alongside, to round out the team, I had, and I'm going to get to the chat in just a minute. I know you guys have been patient. Thank you. To round out the team, this is what I had personally. I believe this is it, or it was, it might have been Gotenks in there instead. 3. It might have been Gotenks instead of Bardock, but that's about it, right? Gotenks, yeah, I'm pretty sure it was Gotenks. So now that I mentioned Bardock, actually, let me actually cover sealers. Sealers are really, really important. If you need a sealer, don't sleep on the option to run a sealer on the team. And I know this team doesn't look like it links well, but trust me, it links well enough. But don't sleep on the option for a sealer because of the fact that they can buy you another turn, just like the stunners can, and just like the units that heal can and stuff like that, and the units that can tank. They can buy you another turn. It's just kind of risky with some of them because some of them are just not that good, or just flat out there aren't some sealers for some teams, right? So this is the best, the question was asked, what's the best non-LR team? This is it. And if you don't have a certain unit, of course, it depends on the box. I can't make a general thing, but you go down list of process of elimination. If you don't have Gogeta, then the next best unit I would include would probably be LR Hercule. He actually links relatively well with this team and can tank hits pretty well. I recently came around on that unit pretty much. And of course, if you do that, then maybe you want to run the Bardock as well so you can seal and also provide orbs for LR Hercule while, allowing LR Hercule to take some hits and be on your main rotation, and maybe you drop one of these other 4 units. Of course, you do need a leader, and again, if you don't have the main 120 leader, maybe you can run the category leader. If you don't have the category leader, you run the next best one. I can't really, you know what I'm saying? I can't really tell everybody, but that's just kind of what it comes down to. So we're going to go over Extreme Tech, which is actually probably the hardest one to do. Some of these I haven't beaten. I have not beaten 4 of them, or 3 of them actually. Extreme Tech, Extreme AGL, and Extreme Int. I have gotten within 1 turn on Extreme AGL and Extreme Int. The last time I tried them, I'm sure I can beat them. I just got to get lucky. Sometimes it comes down to luck. Sometimes you have to get incredibly lucky. I'm good, man. I hope you guys are good as well. Did INT already happen? No, I haven't gotten there yet, bro. I'm going to bring my 100% Hercule. Yeah, so Hercule, again, I recently came around to him. I still don't think he's super great, but I think that he's a really, really compelling option for something like this because of the fact that he's an LR and he has high stats, and that coupled with a Rainbow Star and 120% leader, that's pretty good. Will you try Super Battle Road? Yeah, I will, but I can't now. Super Battle Road is not live on global. I'm mainly talking about global. And if you're talking about the Japanese version, if I did this yesterday, I could pop in and do some gameplay. It's currently Monday in Japan, so Super Battle Road is not live. Super Battle Road is only available on the weekends. Sometimes there's going to be something where they'll have it available every day, but it's not available right now. Another thing, stay away from units like LR Goku. While he is good, I will not take anything away from this unit. He is awesome. when facing only one enemy is the biggest of big wild cards. If you got him to 100% in the legendary campaign, that means that he will be able to tank pretty well, plus the 3,000 defense, plus the leader skill. You know, he'll be able to tank pretty well if he's under like an Icarus item or something like that. And his offense will be solid, but stay away from him, because the reason I'm saying this, I'm not saying that you can't win with him. I'm just advocating that maybe that one enemy requirement screws you over more often than not. So let's look at Extreme, because I'm looking at Extreme and Goku's in here for some reason, by the way. I'm not sure. Okay, cool. So, of course, leader. Again, if you don't have him, the LR card is the next best unit. If you don't have him, honestly, Murzumasu could be a solid option, and you just take a LR friend or whatever. Mass Saiyan is a solid option as well. Just, you know, it just comes down to your individual box. But here's the thing. Say, for example, you can build the best possible Extreme Tech team currently between the team's exact same between both versions right now, by the way. They haven't dropped a new unit for this team in a while. So Global and JP kind of have the same exact options. So those are the 4 best options. And then from there, it becomes a race of wild cards between these guys I'm going to throw into the corner. All of these units become wild cards in the bottom corner. Right? So there's no right or wrong after those 4 at the top. And of course, there are other options like Turles. He's really, really good. Bio Broly, he kind of screws you because of the fact that he has that wonky passive. When facing only one enemy, he can't hit hard, but he can tank pretty well. He'd be a solid tank if you need that. Of course, the TUR Goku Black is an option too, but nah. The problem with this team, and it shines a lot on this team, is the fact that Goku Black right here is a nice defensive unit. The heal is awesome, but he takes a little bit longer than you would want to get going, and that's why I haven't beat this stage yet. Because I actually have been working on this, and I think that the team I'm going to personally run with on JP, and maybe my 100% Goku Black has something to say about that on Global, but I'm personally going to run those 4 at the top. Mass Saiyan, again, can be another one of those units that screws you. 2 or less enemies is not going to trigger when you fight 3 or 5 opponents. You know what I'm saying? But I'm going to run him. And if you're not familiar with that Super Buu, he is the Awakening. Recovers 30% of damage dealt as health, which is awesome if you've invested orbs and farmed his super attack, because he is farmable. He will recover a nice chunk for you in tandem with the LR card. That's a lot of HP recovery, especially because Broly is a freaking glass cannon. You know, there's nothing that can be done about that. Also, lastly, gonna run Frieza, because even though he does lose all viability below 50% or whatever his restriction is, still an incredible unit as far as tanking goes. So that's the team I plan to run up there. And of course, Turles has a 7-turn restriction, but he can be a very viable defensive unit. And then 17 is here for orbs if you need that. Murzumasu can be good, but really he's nothing but an offensive unit. So unless your team has enough defense, which this team unfortunately does not really have. I mean, you would look at this card and say, oh, well, let me take this and then a friend and I'll be set. I promise you, it's not as easy as you would think. I have tried that, you know, and you will still get ran over when you see Goku Black with dupes invested at like plus 4,000 getting hit for 15, 20K per hit. You know, and it's like, oh, well, Broly's going to get hit for 50K, you know, so it's not super easy. Let me go ahead and see what's going on. Defreeze my dad. Oh, man. Yeah, I did see Tyler's video. What would you like to see in Ultra Instinct Goku Dokkan Awakening? I want him to get at least 120% passive. That's about it. Otherwise, he could stay the same. The Super Battle Road mode drops in a couple of days over on Global. So, yeah. I'm more of a mono AGL. See, well, the thing is, you're only going to be able to beat one stage, guys. You have to run these different teams if you plan on beating the mode in its entirety. Mono AGL, Super, or Extreme is only 1 or 2 stages. Extreme AGL, Super AGL. There's 10 total. That's why I'm going through them all. Okay, so I need to take some water there. I swear, where's the damn clear button at? Maybe you guys see it and I don't, but whatever, I don't care. Okay, so let's move on to intelligence, right? And of course, some of these, like for example, Int, they just got a really powerful LR card. So, you know, they're not an option right now, but you get my point, right? So Int is actually really interesting because they have some really good intangible units, and some teams just don't have these options, right? Like for example, Extreme Int, they didn't have a lot of top heavy talent on that team, if you will, to use a basketball phrase, but they have better options here. So, of course, 120 leader, don't have 120 leader. He's your leader, don't have him. Then the next best int type leader, I don't know every single leader skill in the game and which unit has that. It's going to be up to you to use a little bit of that common sense we all have to discern that. So, here's the thing. Gogeta, ability to reduce the enemy's attack does come in handy. Right? Of course, all types effective damage is cool. He's a powerhouse. That's mainly what he's for. But the fact that he reduces enemies' attack, which I haven't really talked about, admittedly, too much here, that's a solid thing. But I'll talk about that in STR for units like PyCon and stuff. But yeah, the fact that he does that does help, right? So LR Gohan, you guys know him. Hardest hitter in Global right now. Definitely one of the hardest hitters in the game, period. Offensive powerhouse, can be really, really good defensively with enough orbs invested in a solid defensive support. So I'm going to put him in the corner because he's not necessary to this at all, really. I've beaten it like 3 times without using my LR Gohan just for S's and giggles. So if I drop LR Gohan, of course, he's still, keep in mind, he's still here, right? Piccolo. Let's move on to Piccolo. The fact that Piccolo is a defensive tank, 13,000 defense naturally. I'm not sure if that's his 100% stat. I don't think it is. One of the highest defensive stats in the game. On top of that, the fact that he gets 10,000 via his passive, which admittedly isn't that much, but 120% leader skill, and also applies a 5,000 defensive boost to the allies, which helps them tank better, and that could be the difference between life and death. I think he 100% deserves a spot on this team. Now, if you guys remember, we talked about Caulifla earlier, and here we have Caulifla's approximate here on the int team. This guy can be really, really good or really, really crap. He can be really, really good or really, really crap, depending on whether or not his passive is working and if you're getting lucky, right? Because when he dips below 50%, he then gets the ability to get a high chance to evade enemies' attacks. So if he's able to dodge and you see him rattle out 4 or 5 dodges or whatever, you know, just a bunch of dodges, maybe he dodges super attacks, he's really freaking good. And if he isn't, he's not so good. But if you have him at 100%, attack and defense plus 70% is enough to allow him under, like, you know, the leader skill, maybe under an item, maybe under attack reduction, or on rotation with Piccolo's 5,000 defense boost. The 70% is enough, to allow him to tank pretty well. Now, if I remove him because he's still kind of a wild card for me, the real MVP is this damn Vegeta. This guy is so good, so slept on. The real MVP is him because of the fact his passive says extreme type enemies lose 20% of their attack. Screw the 20% defense. A 20% attack reduction. The entire event is going to be against extreme tech, okay? With this team, they will fight extreme tech entirely all the way through. That means that's a 100% uptime on that passive, which is phenomenal. It is really, really good for him. So make sure that if you have this guy, you freaking get him ready, get his SA up, you know, use some orbs on him because he is going to be one of the MVPs for this team. That, again, coupled with Piccolo's defense boost, again, coupled with the attack reduction from the double Gogeta leads, assuming you have that, is very valuable. On top of that, other units that get a nice defensive boost like God Goku would be very viable too. Or if you want to go full-on powerhouse, you know what I'm saying? You could do that too. And actually, if you have the ability for the potential system, you'll recover a nice chunk of orbs by doing this combination. You might even be better off by doing it with... No, never mind. Gohan's a better unit. I was going to say, well, if you don't have Gohan, to be honest, Vegeta can approximate kind of a similar role as to Gohan, but he can't do it as well, of course. But you get my point. So this is probably the first team that I've actually said the 40% unit would belong on because, again, this Gohan, 40% defense and attack, literally epitomizes what these 4 units want to do. It allows LR Piccolo and Gogeta get over a threshold in defense. You know, Piccolo's going to get over 100k defense, which coupled with attack reduction from the other 2 Super Saiyans here that you see is enough to allow them to tank. So that Gohan actually really belongs in this team, which I would say just natural support units have a very hard time fitting because they get hit really hard and, you know, are lacking options. So that is definitely what you would want to do. Thank you guys for the subscriptions, by the way. If you are new, make sure you punch that subscribe. So other than that, kind of up to you to decide what you want to do. All in all, you can run those 4. You can run a sealer like Bardock, and you have a very, very good defensive backbone. You really want to focus on defense in Super Battle Road. It is not about offense. It's not about power. Of course, you do need the power, but again, It's like 80% defense, 20% power. You want the staying ability. You want the ability to survive. So that is what it comes down to. So those guys and whoever else you want to put out there, maybe you want to put Weiss. I mean, he attack reduces. Again, I can't go over every single unit. I'm sure there. You know what? Oh, I'm forgetting one of the MVPs. You know what? I talked about it earlier. Freaking Chaozu. He was on my team. I ran this Chaozu on my team. This is the exact team I ran the first time I beat Super Battle Road. Just like Jocko, may stun all enemies. This is a guaranteed one-time stun against all enemies. With Gogeta, that is a very good thing because Gogeta gets a chance to attack first because he actually is the only unit here that he has like the least defensive viability, if you will, because he's not stunning. He's not raising his defense. He's not reducing attack by a significant margin out the gate prior to his own super attack. He's also not buffing 40% defense to his allies. So that allows Gogeta to get a free attack in or multiple if he has additionals invested, which is actually the best way to build Gogeta, mathematically speaking. So yeah, Chaozu, don't sleep on those guys, man. I keep telling you guys, those units are paramount. They are incredible. They are very, very good. Extreme Int. This one's actually kind of difficult because I would say you really freaking need Bojack. Thank you for all the subscriptions again. I appreciate you guys for tuning in. I would really say you need Bojack. You know, I feel like Bojack, I don't think you need him, but I think Bojack is like so good because he gives 4 key to the extreme type, extreme int type, and 100% up, which is just enough, right? It's a little lower than Kid Buu, 20% lower. But that 4 key literally fixes the biggest problem with this team. The biggest problem with this team is that they don't link. You have Kid Buu, right? Here's Frieza, another top tier option who's not available yet, admittedly, on Global. They share no freaking links. They share like Super Saiyan, or excuse me, not Super Saiyan, I wish. Fierce Battle and something else minor. What is it? Come on now. Brutal Beatdown. Oh, hey, here's Wuhan. He shares awesome links with Kid Buu, right? But only Fierce Battle with Frieza because Frieza doesn't have shocking speed. Oh, hey, here's somebody that has shocking speed, but he's Janemba, and Janemba's not super good. He's been heavily power crept by his STR variant. So the double Bojack lead does fix that. And again, admittedly, Bojack and Frieza are not available yet. So right now, the leader you're going to want to use is Kid Buu. But keep in mind what I said earlier about, and I'm sorry I'm not in the chat super often because I want to get through this, and I'll get in the chat afterwards, I promise. So keep in mind what I said earlier about categories, because when Frieza drops, he's actually a 170%/130% leader. So you actually can run several units on Frieza's team as the leader and just funnel in revived warrior category units like the Meta Cooler, like King Piccolo, things like that. Bojack, if you own Bojack, definitely put Bojack on your team as opposed to the leader, or take a Bojack friend and Frieza lead. You can do that. But for now, we're going to kick Frieza out because speaking about Global, he's not in here. So even though I kind of harped on how Janemba isn't super great anymore, he's still one of the better options that they have, unfortunately. The team doesn't have a whole lot of options. Now, you really actually need freaking support here, which is kind of annoying because Kid Buu causes that issue. He's such a really, really good offensive unit, but he just doesn't have synergy with the team. So you need some type of support. Of course, the 40% support is an option. Otherwise, you can run Android 13. He actually gets a defensive boost, I believe. So he's really, really good also for generating those orbs. Turles can be a wild card option because he can stun. He also offers attack support and 3 key support. Android 18, orb changer. You get my point, so on and so forth. And Meta Cooler is pretty cool too as a key support. So aside from that, another wildcard option I would include is King Piccolo because of the fact he reduces enemies' attack by 25%. All enemies. He's basically Vegeta on freaking steroids. Super AGL Vegeta, or Super Intelligence Vegeta on steroids, right? So again, I can't really emphasize enough that certain units are really, really good. This guy can be really good. Ice can be really good if he hits the opponent first. He reduces their attack by 20%. It's unfortunate he's a free-to-play unit, but because he doesn't get that paramount, that top-tier potential system boost. Stunners like Demigra, who also, if I recall correctly, is Demigra a support? No, passive is a high chance to stun. So yeah, definitely if you want to run a stunner, you can. Another great option. Don't sleep on this, man. Not sleep on this 16. Damage received minus 55%. When guard is activated, that is a 100% uptime passive. It is active every single round of this extreme int stage. Don't sleep on that. Also, don't sleep on the General Blues of the world and, those types of units. And let's move on from this team because this one is actually, I don't want to like, give knowledge on teams I haven't really beaten yet myself, right? I want to spread as much knowledge as I can, but if I haven't beat the stage, I just haven't beat the stage yet. So I'm still trying to figure it out. And I've beaten, again, every single stage except for 3 I've beaten personally. So if we swap back over to STR, my new favorite team, because this one has a lot of options when it comes to global. All right, so there's your leader, right? He's your leader. Don't have him, well, I guess you can try to make a hybrid Saiyan category. Grab Gotenks cards. It's not going to perform as well, of course. Maybe you can run when this guy comes out in a couple of days too. Maybe you can run him 70% and then take an SS4 Goku friend or whatever, right? So just assuming that you have the SS4 leader. And if you don't have units, again, I know that's a common question. If you don't have something, go through process of elimination. Try to find a unit that approximates the same role. If you don't have an LR Piccolo, try to find another super intelligence type tank unit that gets a nice defensive boost. It can kind of do similar things. That's what it comes down to. So the team that I actually used to beat Super Battle Road on the Japanese version of the game, right here. We're going to start with that, and I'm going to kind of work the baseline out. So it's those units, this Goku, those guys, and I wish I had Kaba, but I didn't have Kaba. Those 4, they were the only ones that are notable, really. I can't recall who else was there. Oh, yeah, Gogeta was there. Oh, and I think Trunks. I think I had my 100% Trunks there. I'm pretty sure this is the team that I used to beat the Super STR Super Battle Road. Trunks, I talked about earlier how unless your team has enough defense, you don't really want to run, units like him. He's only offense. He's really good if you have him invested, but aside from that, he's 100% droppable. But on this team, with Gohan's 50% defensive boost to all allies, he kind of functions the same way LR Piccolo did in the intelligence team. Goku gets a defensive boost when he launches supers, also a chance to counter. Vegeta, one of the best tanks in the game, one of the best natural tanks in the game. So this team had enough to where it was okay. And of course, Gogeta, if you have a good Gogeta, he's still top tier. Okay, so, oh man, I'm burping. So if we knock off Gogeta, and we kind of fix this up for the global version, because global has, they'll have a few more options, of course, before JP will. So if we use these 4 as a baseline, and this guy was good, his transformations came in clutch. Getting the free turns was actually very, very important. And then, of course, the attack boost. So he's a very, very viable option. Mr. Vegito, assuming that his passive doesn't change, 80% attack and defense boost, can be very, very good because he has those nice LR stats, can fit incredibly well in this team. He'll be self-sufficient. He'll raise his attack and defense each time he launches his 12-key super, which means that he'll be a better tank, so on and so forth. But if you don't, honestly, I would consider, 100%, I would consider dropping the Ape Goku, by the way, even though he adds a lot of damage to the overall rotation via his passive, and of course links with the double SS4 Gokus. I would consider dropping him for Kaba, because Kaba also adds 40% defense, and that could be very, very, very important. So I'm going to do that for now, right? So here you have a perfect star, by the way. So all those units. And then Mr. Big Daddy, Mr. Vegeta. Mr. Vegeta, one of the best units in the game, comes in, has offense and defense, has counters, approximates that Super Vegito role on this team. So with this guy, you have him tanking, doing a lot of damage output. You have a pure tank right here. Again, one of the best tanks in the game. This guy, and by the way, he stuns, right? So he's incredible for Super Battle Road. Screw the 7-turn restriction. He is incredible, okay? And he can do it to super attacks too. He's not limited between tanking super attacks or normal attacks. So this is kind of really similar because this guy is basically Super Vegito, tanking-wise. 80% restriction, 80% mitigation. Of course, he can do it to super attacks, which Super Vegito can't, but you get my point. And this guy is kind of Super Saiyan 4 Vegeta. He's going to get hit a lot harder than SS3 Vegeta is because he gets that defensive boost via the passive, which is pretty cool if you have orbs invested. If not, it's not so good. And of course, if you go from there, you kind of just have a really, really good offense and defense blend. But if you don't have something, for example, and by the way, assuming that you guys do have him, he's going to be at 100%. I don't know why he wouldn't be. A free 100% LR is awesome. So if you don't have somebody like that, just try to approximate the role with a similar ilk type of unit that can do a lot of different things. Now, if we go ahead and find the other global exclusive Super STR unit, okay, Mr. PyCon. So he gets prepared for battle. 2 global exclusive STR units. He greatly reduces the enemy's attack, which is really, really good in tandem with units that need more defense, like SS4 Goku. He takes a few turns to get going. It's really good in tandem with this Vegeta, who, like I said, will get hit for like 10k maybe or so, something like that, which isn't that much considering that he counters, but it's still kind of a lot. So Pikkon is really, really good for that. And he also reduces enemies' defense. I still don't know if that even makes a big difference, but it's a thing that he has. He also can bridge some gaps. Shocking speed is on him. He has shocking speed and prepare for battle. So he allows Ultimate Gohan to have an easier path to super attacking. So with him on the team, you have 2 SS4 Gokus and a Pikkon all having that. And then, of course, you'll be better off as far as super attacking goes. And as far as units that you don't want to really run, again, STR Beerus, awesome unit. If his passive triggers, well, I guess this one, 200% up, high chance. But if it doesn't, then you're screwed. You're dead in the water. So let me go ahead and knock these out, and I'll go in the chat in just a minute. And we'll move on to Extreme STR, which I have beat that stage. Whoops, Extreme STR. Forgive me if I forget a unit that you guys are pointing out to. I'm sure there's some awesome recommendations in the chat. Yes, Kaba is on the STR type batter. What about TUR of Vegito? I mean, he has a 60% passive, which isn't super good. I wouldn't even run him, to be honest. Pygon's defense is garbage. Yes, I agree, but Gohan 50%. If you wanted to, you can run those 2 on a defensive rotation, and it works. I didn't want to sleep on him because I know a lot of people have a really good Pikkon, maybe like 100% Pikkon, for example. I wanted to point him out. So, leader. Again, don't have him. LR leader, next best leader. That's just kind of what it comes down to. If not, process of elimination between what you do and don't have. Best possible team. Of course, you want him. Broly is a really, really, really big wild card because he can actually be a sweeper. He can clear out those hordes of 3 to 4 to 5 relatively quickly, especially if you have a dupe, which I know a lot of people don't have, but still, he can clear out those hordes really fast. But if he doesn't, right? If he doesn't, he's going to get hit ridiculously hard. So, kind of don't want that. Of course, Janemba's different because his team isn't like super great. I don't think it is, but they're very good at one thing and one thing only, really, in my opinion. And that is defense. This team is very, very defensive. And Janemba, of course, epitomizes that with his dodging ability and his ability to block all hits. He's an awesome unit. He's actually really, really good, right? So, Omega Shenron reduces enemies' attack by 30% and gets an 80% attack boost. Again, another unit that approximates that role that I talked about with Super Saiyan Blue Vegeta and the Int team. The ability to reduce enemies' attack is incredible, especially when stacked with a good item that reduces enemies' attack or mitigates damage. So, assuming that you don't have LR Broly, though, I kind of want to get away from LR Broly because some people will have him, some people won't. I can't really do a general thing like I've said several times, but I want to kind of emphasize some other units. So, of course, hit, 40% support, awesome unit on this team. He might even stun. Doesn't he stun? Yeah, a chance to stun. So that, again, can come in clutch if you do get that. STR Zamasu. Not a good unit in terms of himself, but the healing. The healing is really, really important, okay? And I have beat this stage, and I used a certain team in which I can't really show it because one of the units I used was actually an SR. Another team I used an SR on. It was Hoi from The Wrath of the Dragon. He offers 2 key and 20% attack and defense to his allies, I believe, with a chance to stun. That was because I didn't have hit, right? So definitely hit would slide into his slot if you do own hit. And another unit that I used, this guy. So pre-Extreme Z Awakening, not worth your time. Not worth your time because he's going to hit like a powder cup. Not worth your time. But if after Extreme Z Awakening, this man and then, of course, STR Rose, when he drops, they can carry through this event by themselves. They are super good. This guy gets like 70k defense with that Rose on rotation, and they're super good together. Aside from that, Cell can be that Vegito in this scenario. Gets the attack and defense boost per super. Bit slow, but gets going from there. Another unit not to sleep on is this man, Android 13. Reduces damage received by 30% when key is 8 or more. And just a solid tank in that scenario. But again, Zamasu's healing, very important. Don't sleep on that. And of course, LR Frieza. he kind of benefits heavily from being an LR card because that means he gets those nice LR stats, which means on rotation with a guy like Hit, he's going to tank really, really well and under this 120 leader. So I wanted to point out that I'm sure that there are other options like, Sexy Boo here. But I just wanted to point that out. So we're going to move into the last couple, and thank you guys for your patience. I know you guys are waiting on me to respond to some stuff. I will be there in just a minute. And if you guys are new, again, make sure you guys consider subscribing to the channel. So this team is actually very fortunate. It's another one of those teams that can do two things. It can run the 120 leader or the category leader to great success. They got fortunate because Super Vegito is basically coming out at the same time. So that means that they have another defensive stalwart to be on the team. So you can do one of two things. You can run him, or three things again. You can run him as a lead, him on the team. Or you can run him as a lead, him on the team. And take a friend Gotenks or a friend Vegito, however you decide to do it. If you don't have Vegito, you can still take a friend Vegito. The problem with Vegito is that he does not offer that 50% to physical types as a secondary leader skill. He will only support the Majin Buu Saga category team, which Gotenks happens to be a part of. So, fortunately, though, if you do wind up doing that, there are enough good physical units to fill out a team that'll allow you to perform pretty well. For example, all these units, I believe, are a part of this category. And you can beat this stage with this team. You can. I've done it personally. So when it comes to the team that I actually ran, look at that. You can build a full team with the Majin Buu Saga category. Again, maybe one of these guys aren't. I'm pretty sure they're all in it, but you get my point. It can be done, right? You have a stealer that can do damage. You have a freaking damage dealer. You have two tanks because you'll have a friend. You'll have a guy that can do a little bit of both attacking and he can bridge some gaps. You have one of the best support units in the game overall and another awesome support that actually can stun too, which can come in handy. But if you don't want to make it that way, that's 100% viable. That's perfectly fine. So assuming that you built it this way, you have Vegito Blue, you have regular Vegito. You can take a Vegito friend, honestly, a regular Vegito friend. And although some of your units like Vegito Blue will be missing out on it, that third tank instead of that extra damage dealing like a friend Gotenks is probably more important, right? So you can kind of go from there. There's just too many options for this team in particular because they actually can approximate every role that you need on this event because you have some of the best support units. You have an LR card that can go offense and defense if you have that unit. You have, again, some of the best tanks, especially Vegito Blue with orbs invested, an incredible tank unit. Blue, stay away from this guy because he hurts you. Unless yours is super good and he outputs a lot of damage, I would stay away from him. Weirus can be okay, but I would stay away from him too because he's not doing much aside from generating orbs, which is great, but it's not super good for himself and naturally. Also, you can have a unit that does the sealing, and instead of attacking hard like Gotenks, he actually supports attack, so he allows the other allies, like your main units on rotation, to hit a lot harder. That's a thing you can do. You can also run Pan. You can do a lot of different things. There might even be some attack debuffers in here that I'm not aware of, right, like off the top of my head, especially because I'm trying to speed up a bit. Also, healer unit right here. There's just a lot of different things you can pull from this team as a whole. So be aware of that. And lastly, the final team I wanted to go over, and we'll get in the chat, Extreme Physical. Another team that, again, can do two things. So the benefit Omega Shenron has that Vegito doesn't have, that he actually has that secondary leader skill that says, hey, physical types get 3 ki and 50%. Not that big of a buff, but it adds more relevance to it. For example, if Vegito had that, you would just run Super Saiyan Blue Vegito on that other team. In fact, I think I did that from my run, by the way. I ran the Majin Buu Saga category, and I dropped, like, Great Saiyaman from that exact build I just showed you guys and put Vegito Blue there. And even though he didn't get a leader skill boost, he linked well enough anyway, and he can tank damage pretty well, so it didn't matter. So, yeah, you can run one of these two leaders, whatever. It doesn't matter from there. If you don't have these guys as a leader, again, the 70% are viable options, and then you just find a friend. Just know that, again, the weaker your leader is, of course, the less HP, the less damage, less defense that you output. Omega Shenron does the exact same thing as STR Omega, but he's, of course, better. Reduces enemies' attack by 20%. That helps Cooler. That helps those units that don't tank very well. Speaking of units that don't tank, this guy at 100% can take a hit decently, but still, he's still a pretty dangerous unit to use. Not sure what's going on with him on global, but he's okay. This guy, actually, let me go ahead and click him. One of the best possible units for this team. The support that he offers is priceless. Also, the ability to heal you. Very, 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 very important. if you get that healing. So here we have 3 units right there. And from there, you can just kind of fill in the team how you see fit. Goku Black, again, on global offers key support, which can be very, very important because sometimes you find those rotations where they don't link super well. Maybe you're 1 or 2 keys short. The Cooler and Omega cards can kind of deal with that anyway because they get the multiple attacks and maybe you just super tag through that anyway. But again, sometimes it can be a bit of an issue. Also, another card that can be really good is Vegeta. 40% attack reduction. If he hits the enemy, that is. He has to hit them first. That means if you put him in a position where he gets hit first, right, it's not going to be super good. But personally, I love King Cold. He's a super strike unit. I love King Cold. Attack reduction by 25% for all allies. Exact same passive as King Piccolo that we talked about earlier. That, coupled with the high defense on him, coupled with this man's attack debuff, coupled with the defense improvement here and the healing and all that, that guy is super good. That guy is super good. You can also incorporate Frieza for some more damage because you don't have a whole lot of damage here. And now you're looking at the team that I basically used to beat this stage myself. I believe Bergamo was in that last slot because Bergamo does transform, not on global yet, so it doesn't really matter. You can incorporate this Boo who Dokkan awakens into Gotenks Boo. Boo Tanks. He's a sealer. If you need the sealing, you can go ahead and do that. So, again, I can't go over every single unit. There's another healer, Boo, right here. Recovers 1,000, yada, yada. But I just wanted to give you guys, like, again, a general idea as far as, like, how to do this. Again, there are 10 fights in total. The rewards are stones in these trophy medal things, and you exchange those for these Grand Kais, which are Elder Kais, just type restricted Elder Kais. Also, you can pull the LR Gohan. Well, not pull. You acquire the LR Gohan card by doing these requirements here. So thank you guys for listening to my rant, kinda, while I went over this. And let me go ahead and check out the chat. And if you guys are watching this in a video format, thank you for tuning in. Hope you guys enjoyed it. Subscribe if you're new. Let's look at the chat. We're getting LR Trunks and Goten. Are we? Is that a thing now? Hey, is that a thing? Let me check that. Let me check that. If that's a thing, I'm super excited. I'm super excited if that's a thing. I'm checking right now. Schedule. I don't see that. Maybe it's on the Reddit. I don't see that. I'm not going to go through that now. It's too much work. My Vegito Blue is 100%. Well, then he's really good. Your Vegito Blue will function very well, bro. 70% defense Piccolo. So I actually forgot about him. He's one of those units that I kind of glossed over. His defense support can be pretty good, but he's not the best unit himself. Can be good, can be useful, but it's not necessary at all. Especially if you have Super Vegito. Again, if you have a 40% Gohan, you're good enough. You don't need that 70% Piccolo because, again, the mode is more so predicated on the ability to do stunning, just like saving you a turn or things like that, stunning, healing, and mitigation as opposed to higher defense. Higher defense is a bonus. Of course, you want that. But if you have an option between mitigation or higher defense, even if it's a higher defense to all allies, you want that. Really ideally, you want mitigation and high defense in tandem, right? But I struggle to see a unit that I would drop for that Piccolo. He's a solid unit, but he's not good enough. Of course, that's not to say that you can't beat the mode with him, right? So... yes, LR Vegito will drop. Which card do you want most to Dokkan? Convulsing Rage STR Goku. Check global. Is there something in the news or something I'm not seeing? Is that what you guys are talking about? Because you guys are all saying that. Let me check that. Oh yeah, the New Year celebration. Oh snap. Hey. Okay. Time Mission, Rising Dragon Carnival, LR Vegito. I'm sure that you guys know what you're talking about. I don't see it, but I know you guys know what you're talking about. That's pretty cool. Yeah, if you find a friend. Well, the thing is, you don't need to see the. So the friend mode is kind of crap, right? The friend system is crap. We know that, but there is, at the very least, a special friend you can take. It will be listed there at the top. There will always be a 120 leader friend for that specific stage. If you're taking on Super Physical, for example, you'll see a Gotenks. If you're taking on Extreme Tech, you'll see a Broly. There will always be one at the very top at SA10. Do one for Int Gogeta. Already done. Check news. Yeah, I assume that that's in there now. So if you don't have Kaba, what units can you replace Kaba with? Ape Goku or any other support, really. Or just a defensive unit. You don't need them. LR Vegeta or Gogeta, what do you prefer? Gogeta. Do you think that Ultra Instinct Goku should be in? I talked about him. Maybe you'll have to catch it later on. He's a cool unit. He's a bit of a wild card, though. Okay, well, that's about it. You guys talking about the news. I'll go check that out. Thank you guys for tuning in. The free-to-play possessed GT Goten and are amazing for this mode. They give 3 key and 30% defense. Yes, they can be solid options. Yes, they are nice knockoff 40% units. If you don't have the 40%, those guys are nice options. Correct. The free-to-play Goten and Trunks. Or Gohan and Trunks, not Goten. But anyways, thank you guys. I appreciate it. I'm going to get up out of here. Thank you for tuning in. I'm going to check this news that you guys are talking about. And I need a break because my voice is kind of just gone. But thank you. I'll catch you guys in the next one. Take it easy, guys.